our meeting to order at 6:30. Hope everyone's doing well. Happy New Year. If you are a primary member, if you haven't got your voting card, please do it from Joe. If you, and you can also sign in, if you're an alternate and your primary is not here, same thing. Get your card, get your voting card from Joe. Okay, so first thing on the agenda is agenda review and approval. Any comments or wanting to approve the agenda?
I'll approve the agenda.
Okay, motion to approve by David, second by Bill. Any discussion on the agenda?
Great agenda.
All right, cool. All in favor, I don't know, raise your card and say aye.
Aye.
Any noes? Any abstentions? Okay, so unanimous, thank you. We have, in Board of Supervisors District 5, we have a vacancy that was announced in November. Caspian was nominated. Are there any other nominations? Okay, going once. All right, seeing none, I'm going to close nominations. Then, since we have only one person nominated, I'll call for a vote of acclamation to support Caspian. All in favor, say aye. And then we have some other folks who are not members of the committee, but are being recommended as alternates by their primary. I'm getting sworn in right now, so if you're not line right up here, if you're not already, you stand. That's Cesar, Lara, alternate for Adam or Urrutia. Timothy Miguel, alternate for Coyt. Kayla Jones, I don't see her here. Kathryn Ramirez, alternate for Rocha. So if you can all come on up and join me.
We'll change that. Okay.
Okay, so if you could raise your right hand and repeat after me. I state your name.
Cesar,
Do solemnly swear
solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
That I will bear true faith and allegiance to those constitutions.
That I will treasure true faith and allegiance to those constitutions.
That I will honor and uphold
That I will honor and uphold
the bylaws of the Monterey County Democratic Central Committee.
the bylaws of the Monterey County Democratic Central Committee.
That I take this obligation freely,
That I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion.
without any mental reservations or purpose of evasion.
And I will well and faithfully discharge the duties. And I will
well and faithfully discharge the duties
about which I am about to enter.
upon which I am about to enter.
And during such time as I hold this position.
And during such time as I hold this position.
All right, congratulations. Okay. And folks, just do the best you can to find chairs and squeeze in. All right. Okay. So, agenda item number 5 is public comment on non-agenda items. And also, folks, if you're going to be talking about something later as a committee report or as a club report, you can kind of hold your fire till then. So this is for things that are not on the agenda that you would like to bring to the attention of the Democratic Party. And you have 1 minute, and I do, because we have so many people and so much, I do hold you to that, so don't take offense.
And if you were just sworn in and your primary is not here, you can go to Joe and get your voting card.
Okay, so, anybody have an item not on the agenda they would like to go?
Yeah, I asked George Riley and somebody from Marina, Public Board now, to come to give a little update on what was going on with respect to the politics of water and what was up with Public Board now and a little struggles behind the scenes. But 1 minute is not enough for anyone to give a cogent description of an update. So I would like to consider, and I'd like my fellow Democrats to consider giving them, allocating enough time so that people from Public Order now and the folks in Marina who have a slightly different agenda but have a common cause, come in and give us an update on what's happening with respect to probably the most important issue for the next 100 years if we're going to be around that long on the peninsula. Thank you.
Okay, so request to agendize that. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to start reading, and probably won't finish in 60 seconds, but I will try.
Go ahead.
Let's see. This is a letter from Citizens for Just Water, and we are encouraging everyone here. Each of you has already spoken before many public bodies on the issue of water. We have given high compliments to our first presentation at the Regional Water Board in December. We then took the same presentation to the Mayor's Water Authority group. It is now imperative for us to speak before every Peninsula City Council and other local agencies using our same format as a tried and true method for effectiveness and respect to the body we are approaching. For this reason, we do not wish to be broadcasted as others may want to make their own statements. Our group, which includes both Marina Board communities and Peninsula speakers in equal numbers, wish to not overwhelm, irritate, or bore our audience with repetitive, unorganized statements. There is so much that we cannot leave it to chance that they all get covered. If we were to encourage others to join in large numbers, we would really ask that the audience to raise their hands in support of the California Coastal Commission. Basically, on Monday, January 28th, at the Monterey 1 Water Board meeting at 6 p.m., 5 Harris Court, Monterey. Please try to attend in support of sound and sane water policy.
Okay, so just clarify, so you would like people to go to Monterey 1 meeting on when? Monday the 28th.
Monday 28th at 6 p.m.
Okay, got
If you would like to speak, we have some prepared text, but we'd like not to have a repetitive topic.
Okay. Anyone else? And if you're back here, you might have to yeah, comment.
Okay, so I was just sitting around thinking over the holidays. To a layman, it may seem like all the elections are over, all the politics are over, and they got 2 years of peace and happiness, no more elections. But for us in the Democratic Party, things have actually turned to a different road. From the federal level, Nancy Pelosi getting elected as Speaker and her maneuvering to our state level and chair of our own party, Eric Bowman, and the whole public and non-public, semi-public information surrounding that, all the way down to our elections, all the way to the school level, school boards and so on and so forth. More and more candidates are announcing their candidacy for the President of the United States. Kamala Harris just did so a couple of days ago. It promises to be a real banger of a year in 2020 in terms of politics. And I was just thinking, we as a Democratic Party are very well positioned to take the leadership and positioning that we currently have and leverage it to have a very strong, successful election season in 2020 right here in our Monterey County. And to that effect, I was just saying our work has just begun because there's a lot to do in next year and a half.
Thank you, Ellen. Anybody else?
I'll get you real quick.
Okay, Tyler, I saw first and then Cesar.
So some of you might have heard that while our president, Donald Trump, was on his way back from a state visit to Russia, he mentioned to several of his staffers that his preference was for the United States to pull out of NATO. So our congressman greatly disagrees with that, and he introduced, and today the House passed the NATO Support Act, which rejects any efforts by the president to withdraw from the NATO alliance and supports NATO member efforts to spend at least 2% of their gross domestic. Anyway, it goes into. The point is, we're not pulling out of NATO, and our congressman took the lead at passing legislation that reaffirms Congress's support for NATO. And if the president decides that he's just going to do the bidding of Vladimir Putin and try to pull us out of NATO, Congress has definitely made a stand and made sure that he cannot do that. So, good move by our congressman there.
Thanks for letting us know about that. And then Cesar.
First of all, I'm going to apologize. I'm going to leave it a little bit early. I'm going to the Monterey Peninsula Unified School District. They're voting on whether to allow police drug sniffing dogs on campuses. So we're going to have a community coalition that's going to fight against that. Police referrals on the Monterey Peninsula Unified School District is the highest on the Central Coast, and I mean the Central Coast from Santa Cruz County down to the County of Ventura. And so as we talk about the many issues that we face as a Democratic Party, I think one of the issues we have to face is what communities of color are facing. The Latino and African American communities here in the peninsula have faced racism. With the high number of police referrals and the police state that we have in the school district here in the Monterey Peninsula. So I asked the party to step up and help the community. I know we're partnering up with a number of other organizations in the community, but we don't need to go far to find issues that are facing our communities of racism, and to follow the model that President Obama did with his Brothers Keeper model. That we need to step up and really find a more holistic model. I know in the Salinas Valley they're doing wellness centers within the high school district that Kathryn showed leadership on, and so that should be the model, not more police and more drug sniffing dogs on campuses. That's just ridiculous. So thank you.
And thank you, Kathryn.
So Ted and Juan, if you're comfortable there, that's fine. There are more chairs here too if you'd rather work here. Let's see. I know Paul wanted, raise your, Chris was first and then Paul.
I just wanted to bring to your attention that this Thursday, Kimberly Ellis and Delaney and Hillary Crosby are going to be speaking. And the topic that they are addressing is the state of the California Democratic Party. I'm sure you all have been following. There's a lawsuit that has been filed, many staffers have been. And the party is quite fractious at this point. So they'll be discussing the tensions and the issues that are being raised at the state level. So I hope as many of you as possible can come. It should be a very informative session.
Where?
It is at 12 o'clock at the Hilton Garden Inn. It's a luncheon, and they'll be speaking from approximately 12 until 1:30.
What day is it? What day is it?
Thursday.
Thursday. Mm-hmm. And if you want more detail, check with me and I'll tell you when.
Paul's next.
Yeah, I just wanted to make people aware, that with the ongoing federal shutdown, obviously more and more people are at risk. Specifically right now, the Housing Authority Section 8 voucher program, the choice program, is at risk. Even though the website right now says everything is fine, workers have indicated to me that they will be running out of funds probably by the end of February. They might make it into March with partial payments. But by April, if this continues, there will be no funding for this. That puts people at risk. Where I represent people in Preston Neighborhood Park out of Fort Orange, we can work with the city probably and the county on that. But for people who have, private apartment owners, they actually risk facing eviction, and they also face having their record dinged that they have been late on rent, even if they were to pay their own portion. So I'm hoping people can kind of stay aware of this and on top of it, because these are people who have very little political power, and it's up to us to try to speak for those people. And So hopefully we'll be able to stay on, just want to get people aware of that. I've written to Jane Parker and our city manager to discuss potential rescue missions, one of which might be the county, based on their investment policy, making one of the housing authority to carry them through for a certain amount of time. But if people could just please be aware of it, because it's scary. It's going to be very scary for a lot of people.
Thank you. Anybody else with the non-agenda item?
Well, I was thinking I would save it for announcements, but.
This is it. No announcements.
Anyway, some of you know that I have launched a fund for human rights protection through the Monterey Institute and Amnesty International. And I have a second event coming up on February the 8th. I have speakers coming in who have worked in the United States, but also in Brazil. It's a father-daughter team who've been working together for decades, and they're a really great powerhouse group. And so that will be at the Monterey Institute, Irvine Auditorium, 6 o'clock on February the 8th. And we'll have music and refreshments and a good time for celebrating human rights. And I'll pass the flyers about it around.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So while she's passing those around, I just also want to reiterate, if you have an event, whether it's a speaker, whether it's a community event, or something like that, if you get it to Erin before we finalize the agenda, we can actually have it in here. It's a lot easier for people to remember, like you hear, okay, Monday night, the 25th, wherever, and it just kind of, but we can have it in the agenda, so you're going to be more successful at probably getting people to remember and maybe show up if you do that. And if it's something sponsored by a club or something like that, and you get it to us early enough to Tyler, we can potentially send out an email blast or get it, pushed out on social media. So just a suggestion, that will probably help you get more eyes on the notification. All right, anything else as far as non-agenda items? I don't see anything, going once, going twice. All right, thank you. So monthly speakers, we don't have one this month. Next month, Vince and Tyler are going to do a presentation on social media. One of the reasons this is important, it kind of ties into what Amit was saying. This is a very big year with presidential elections. It's important for us, as we support the candidates each of us individually supports, to also be cognizant that we are representatives of the Monterey County Democratic Party. Anyway, so Vince is going to have some suggestions on how we kind of navigate this and what our role is and how we can communicate through that process. So that's going to be the presentation and a discussion next month. And then if your club in particular, it's an opportunity for clubs, if your club would like to do something, you can let the e-board know and we can agendize that for a future meeting. All right, action items. So you have the November, that should be 2019, 2018, okay, November 2018 meeting notes. You have our financial reports through the end of the year. Also, this is C, I'm just kind of going through these to see if we can maybe get a motion to approve all or some of them on consent. We need to confirm the e-board members' names and titles because we need it in the minutes so that the new treasurer, and actually even I still have not been able to access our banking account because we just never got this properly taken care of. So that's one thing. And then D, the additional committee. So the E-Board is suggesting that, number one, we might want to have a committee to deal with facilities. Okay, there's a lot of things there to look at. To review the endorsement process and make a recommendation. Do we want to do endorsements differently next time we have endorsements to do? Likewise, to review the bylaws. Are there changes that we might want to make in the bylaws? And then we're also suggesting that in order to help out our secretary, who's had some issues with health, that we might want to have an assistant secretary. We've done similar with the treasurer, where we have an assistant treasurer. And then there's a draft resolution on California Democratic Party voting process. The Progressive Dems have approved this. They are sending it to the state party. And if we would like to also approve it, we could, or we could modify it, or we could not do it at all. Basically, it has to do with the last chair election, where there were irregularities, let's say, and where the process certainly could have been better. So those are the items we're bringing to you.
And you got all those in advance. I'm sorry it was late last night.
So first of all, is there a motion to approve some of those, all of those, any of those? Yes.
So I'll make a motion that we approve everything except for item D, because I think we're just going to need to have people step in and volunteer for those. So A, B, C, and E.
Okay.
Makes sense to me. Other folks might have issues with E, but I'm good with it.
So that time we're rolling is making a motion to approve everything except for D. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, Chris, I think I'm going to take her second. Okay. Discussion on those. Yeah. David.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to amend the motion to pull the minutes in favor of a more complete listing of the names under men, women, and interested proxies.
Okay.
First name is not sufficient.
Okay. Could we just amend that?
Yeah, you can fill it in and out. Well, I mean, these are our published minutes, and
I've actually got a version with all the last names, I just didn't get it to in time for it to be published.
okay, could I request that the minutes be recirculated, please? If we approve that they be recirculated?
Sure. Is that okay with the motion maker?
So can I just ask, like, where do our minutes actually live? Like, where do they actually get published? Or because my view on this is like we're so behind on minutes, it's better to just kind of hit the reset button and approve the past ones. Like, yeah, okay, some people's names are spelled wrong, but honestly, if we made these endorsements and an election that's already over and stuff like that, so for me, it just makes more sense to approve the minutes and just move on. But and I don't really know that, you know, spelling someone's name wrong is enough to keep not approving the minutes every meeting.
Yeah. David?
So these minutes become a historical record of our club and its proceedings, and if we are coming here to do the business of the Monterey County Democrats, I think we owe it to ourselves to do it correctly and in a manner that befits the effort that goes into it.
So did I hear you a request to pull A from it, so the motion is B, C, and E? Is that what you said the first time? Yes. So the maker of the motion wants that.
So Tyler and Chris.
I was just going to approve the motion with an amendment to
Excuse me?
correct the names.
You would like to?
Approve the motion just with the amendment that the names be corrected.
Okay. And Tyler, are you okay with that?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. Like, let's just approve the minutes and then we can edit it after the fact.
Okay.
I think we should just get it, because we have July, August, September, October, and November. Like, at this point, I think that we should just approve it. That's fine.
Okay. Ahmed?
So I was thinking, where are the July, August, September, and October minutes? There were some changes, some typos, and a couple of them had pretty substantial informational changes. I would like to have present all those minutes with the changes we went through in last 4 meetings before we actually approve them, because they were not always accurate and there were changes, and we went through month after month after month saying these are the changes, I would like to see a copy in my hand for those months.
So we're not approving July, August, September, October, we're just approving November. And I will be asking the treasurer, and if we have an assistant treasurer, to go back and bring those other months to us.
So it sounds like there needs to be a project taken on, which is the assistant and the secretary
Right.
still need to bring us a final product. So then, yeah, I would say let's just pull item A and just vote on B, C, and E then.
Chris, are you okay with that? Okay, so the motion is B, C, and E. Any discussion on that? All right, seeing none, all in favor, raise your cards and say aye.
Aye.
All right, any opposed? I don't see any. Okay, any abstentions? All right, thank you, unanimous. So then let's go back and figure out with the minutes. First of all, with the November minutes, the request is that we add last names.
Verify that the names are correct,
Okay,
and then if they are complete.
okay.
I have a printout here. Do the last names.
But I don't,
I've done them.
so if that's important for people, then I'm going to suggest we just defer this again, because I don't see how we're going to be able to do that right now. Yeah.
I want to move to amend to approve the November minutes, and I want to have a vote up and down on whether we do so right now or not. Just not being able to go to sign checks without having to go through another process and putting that off for an additional month.
That's another item, actually.
Wait, but are you saying the minutes are?
We approved that.
We approved that. That's
November's minutes?
No, tonight.
We confirmed the e-board members' names and titles.
Okay.
It'll be in the next one.
Yeah,
How is C?
so it'll be in
You're correct, Ian.
January's minutes.
Okay, I think that's acceptable.
But we feel your pain, and we thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So can I just?
I think they'll land first,
Secretary,
and Ahmet, and then Tyler.
Be sure that you actually record all of our names and our roles in the minutes for this month, that everything's spelled correctly, because that's the only way he's gonna be able to go to the bank and be able to write checks.
And I'd just like to say, I'm still the check signer and I'm no longer a member.
So that's not good.
I realize and say in 30 days, I'm not gonna sign checks for you guys anymore. It needs to be done.
Mr. Chair, are we talking about the content of the minutes? November minutes?
Yes. I'm sorry, but first it's Ahmet, and then there was somebody else, Tyler, and then you. Go ahead, Ahmet.
You know, about the minutes, if I may, over the 30 years, I have held a lot of positions in organization, from secretary, president, vice president, founders. Minutes are not just a recorded black and white documents. Minutes are actually living, breathing documents. They contain the information and the request that the membership body made that the information be investigated and brought to the next meeting. So the information on the minutes and their sentiments actually end up in the next agenda and agendas after that. For example, in the November meeting, if I were to see, there was a request to remove a member from CDC. And this board requested that that information be brought back to the board, which is now on the agenda.
It is on the agenda.
So I
Under
think
credentials.
what I'm trying to make it.
Point of order, though, it is
Under
under
credentials.
credentials.
Okay.
Go ahead.
The only point I'm trying to make is minutes are just a recorded information set of what happened and transpired. And it's essential that the minutes somehow, with the secretary, assistant secretary, second, third secretary, somehow the minutes be assembled in a clarified motion within a week or 2 after the meeting. Not the day before the body's meeting. That's all.
Tyler.
I just want to clarify, Caspian, so like on page 8 of this packet, that's what we approved, right? Oh, that was the action item, that's just affirming that these are the people who are, is that going to be enough for you to start signing checks?
No, there's also a format of a letter. We've done the letter before, but then the two actions have not taken place at the same time, affirming it in approved minutes and providing the letter. So we have the verbiage and the verbiage that the bank wants. They just need this with it too.
So Holly and Caspian, is that your understanding?
So in the minutes, it needs to say who the officers that named in the position in the minutes.
Right. And all that has to happen is cut and paste the contents of the package into the minutes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so if we're on the November minutes, Regina Gage sent an email. I don't know if you corrected it already, James. Today she sent an email saying under interested proxies, Stuart Samuels is not listed, and he indicated the bottom of that first page, interested proxies.
Okay, so what are we doing? Somebody make a motion, Bob?
What was on this? If I understand, the only difference in November minutes.
Sorry, can you speak up a little bit?
Okay, I need order here. Right now, we'll have to come back to this thing with Stuart. Bob?
Anyway, as we're trying to say, my understanding is the only objection to the November minute is the lack of the last name. So, there's no reason why we can't approve the November minute with the provision that the last name be added and the missing name is Erin. I'm not sure what the motion is.
So somebody could move to approve the minutes with the last names added and the addition of Stuart Samuels as an interested proxy.
So moved.
And my name corrected.
And all names.
All
Okay, so Ahmed made the motion, Ian seconded, thank you very much, that we approve the November minutes with the names being fully, last names added and names corrected and Stuart Samuels added as one of the interested proxies. Any other discussion on the November
And then
minutes?
that our finance officer receives a copy as soon as it's done.
Yes, and our finance officer receives a copy ASAP.
That's this month's minutes, not November.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? One, abstention? None. Okay, thank you.
But I just would have to say.
So, item D, yeah, what did you want to say?
So, Joe, if you'd be so kind to circulate that committee sign-up form, in your packet is a description of some ad hoc committees and a new committee. On the website is ongoingly a list of all of our committees. In the bylaws describes what the committees do, links to the chairs are there. Every month it's on the agenda. So right now, we're going to pass around the same sign-up sheet that was up front. If you would like to express your interest about joining any committee, a complete list of the committees is in your packet on page 9. It's the chair's discretion to approve people on any committee. You don't have to be a member of this committee. If you know folks who have expertise, they're a registered Democrat, they want to help, they can work on these committees. We're all volunteer run. Only members of this committee, though, can chair committees. So we're sending around the sign-up sheet, and I just wanted to say that before whatever next step we take is.
So either I would entertain a motion then to go ahead and send around that sheet, get these committees going, or if there's any other questions on what we're trying to do with creating these committees. Comment?
It is understanding that bylaws specifies chair's prerogative to appoint ad hoc committees, so I make a motion to approve the ad hoc committees that chair has appointed.
Thank you, Amit. Is there a second? I heard it. Tyler Williamson.
And one more thing about assistant secretary.
Yeah.
Assistant secretary, again, if you look at what you got in advance and what you have in your packet, the assistant secretary role, the board is recommending Joseph Aliotti, who is up front, who you see every month when you're checking in. However, if others are interested, you certainly will be considered. We are a democratically run organization, so we'll have an election tonight, if you, or next month if you want. If others are interested in that assistant secretary role, that person is not an executive board member, but we're recommending Joe because Joe's pretty much been doing that already. Thank you, Joe, and bringing snacks to the meeting. Thank you. But Adam brought you in.
Okay, so I'm thinking maybe we should handle the assistant secretary with a separate vote. So just on the additional committees, Amit made a motion, and I think Tyler Williamson seconded it. Any discussion? Yeah.
He mentioned, Ahmed mentioned that you had a power for ad hoc. Did he also include facility? Are we voting on that too?
Yeah.
And then the bylaws people, if we like that, it gets going, when they do the bylaws, they'd have to put that in there, if they like it too, if everybody likes it.
And then, if we approve this, we'll pass around a sign-up sheet, and obviously, I would love to have people sign up for those different committees as their interests, suits them. All right, any other discussion on the committees? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstention? It unanimously passes. And again, please do consider signing up for one of those committees. So we do have a recommendation from the E-Board for Assistant Secretary, but I would entertain nominations for somebody else. Somebody else would like to run. Okay, seeing none, then I'm going to close nominations, and we can elect by acclamation Joseph Aliotti. All in favor, say aye.
Aye!
Thank you, Joseph. Okay, moving on to item 8. So we recently participated in the Women's March and the MLK March in celebration. I'll let Elena fill us in on the Women's March.
Okay, so we had a table at the Women's March. We registered a total of 4 voters. 2 of them were 16-year-old twins. Exciting. They were pre-registering. We marched in the march behind the Democratic banner. Alan was there, I was there, Molly was there. Raise your hand if you were at the Women's March. Yay, and most of you, I think, marched with us. It was a beautiful day. In fact, it was almost too hot. And we had a lot of people come to the table. We just don't have a lot going on, so there wasn't a whole lot to give people, but just it's encouraging to see that. And the MLK March, I ended up not I marched, but I ended up marching with another organization. I lost to them. So Alan, explain
we had Tyler's partner Yvonne marching with me. There were a couple of Democrats, so I don't know if they got an email blast, but they are not members of this committee. They're new to the area. Invited them to come and get involved, and they marched with us. So there were a lot of folks. Raise your hand if you were there marching in some capacity.
For the Women's March?
No, they don't very much. Me and you were there. It'd be great if we had more members of the committee next time marching with us. I know some of you are elected officials, and some of you are in other organizations, but we did have a respectable showing, and it's important for us to be there. State party matters. This is number 9. So we recently had what are called ADEM elections. Let me just briefly say there are 3 ways to be involved with the state party. You can be elected to be a delegate from this central committee. We did that, last November, okay? You can also be elected through your assembly district election, or you could be appointed by a state elected official. So Bill Monning, Mark Stone, Robert Rivas, and Jimmy Panetta, and Anna. They can all nominate people. So that's sort of the 3rd way. Being nominated by an elected official, being elected here, being elected at an assembly district. So a couple weeks ago, Assembly District 29 had their elections. Okay, so those folks are now elected, 14 people there. And then coming up, Erin, when is 80-30?
It is on Sunday in Salinas at the United Farm Workers Hall.
And so that's coming up in Salinas on Sunday. 80-30 will elect its representatives. And as Amit said, some very unfortunate and disturbing revelations came out in the last few months about our state chair, Eric Bauman, brought forward both by staffers and party members about basically abuse, sexual harassment, and bullying and other forms of abuse. Creating a kind of, not intolerable workplace, but hostile workplace. Thank you. So he did eventually resign, which is good. And so now we will, at the first convention meeting in May, we will be electing a new chair. And I will do what I can, as I did last time, to invite the candidates to come here and speak to us so that all of us have a chance to hear them. And if we want, at that point, we can discuss it and endorse or not. But I do think it's important that all the candidates be invited to come here and we all have a chance to hear them.
One of them will be Thursday.
And yeah, and as Chris said, you have the opportunity Thursday with the Democratic women to hear Kimberly Ellis. I'd still like to invite her to our second meeting. So are there any questions on kind of what's going on with the state farm?
Do you know the names of any of the people who are going to be running?
Yes, so Kimberly Ellis, who ran last time, has announced. Rocha Larimore, who's the current vice chair, has announced. Somebody named Lenore, who ran last time, has announced. And and a labor leader whose name I can't remember.
Rusty Hicks.
Say that again?
Rusty Hicks.
Rusty, yeah.
Rusty.
Rusty has also announced.
What, he used to be in the assembly?
Yeah, how many Rusty
He's still functioning?
Reyes is
Okay, so we can't have side conversations here. Any questions about what's going on with the state party, or, yeah, Bob?
I was under the impression that Kimberly had the second highest number of votes in last time.
She did.
Court, or the first, depending who you talk to.
Right.
She did. It's a new election.
Was that, was there a big difference between her votes and the third highest?
Yes.
Lenore got six.
Lenore got like
Six.
6 votes, something like that.
And what's the difference between Bauman and her 68 votes?
Approximately, I think about 50 or something.
3,000.
But I don't want to get too far into the weeds here. Adam?
Oh, I said Rusty Arias, I meant Rusty Hicks.
Yeah, we'll see. Okay, we'll side conversations. David has the floor.
So who is the current chair?
So the acting chair is the first vice chair, which is Alec Rooker. She, yeah. Any other questions about this? Yeah.
The comment, could you please make sure that if someone comes and speaks here, that they have a time limit?
Oh, absolutely.
Don came, and went over now, that's on the group.
It was.
May I ask for volunteers right now?
To help you?
Yeah.
Sure.
So I'm I'm co-convening the ADEM 30, the Assembly District 30 ADEMs, and I had a great group of people that promised last year to help me, and for some reason I'm part of a nonprofit organization that decided to have a congregational meeting that day. So because they're on the board, they have to go to that. So I lost several of my key volunteers. So I've been trying to fill those spots, but it's harder than I would like. So if there are some people here, I'm looking around here, I know y'all, I trust y'all, and I would love to work with y'all. So if anyone is interested in volunteering on Sunday, even for an hour or two, let's talk. I'll have good snacks. And if you know someone that would like to come volunteer on Sunday, thank you. Then I will call you.
What's the time frame? What time?
It's in the morning, you know, something all day. Set up, say anytime. I can use help anywhere from 10 a.m. till 5 p.m. Set up, checking people in, counting ballots, an hour or two. I'll find a task for you, but let's talk in advance.
All right, count me in.
Is that Dominic?
Want me to help count votes?
That would be a no candidate on the progressive state
Try.
and current executive board running for re-election.
Okay, I'm going to move us along unless somebody else has something to say on this. Okay. Democratic Club, Democratic Women, do you have any update?
This month, our new officers will be sworn in, and Kate Daniels, the president, and Nicole Charles Hollingsworth will be our vice president, and the other officers will remain the same. So there's a changing of the guard, and I already mentioned that there's the luncheon on Thursday, and then just ahead of time, and we'll make sure if you haven't been getting the flyers, we've been changing over to Member Planet, and so our communications haven't been, so we'll make sure that you get it, but.
Well, I get them as an individual and a member of the club, but unless it says, here is a one-pager, please add it to the agenda.
Okay.
I mean, I'll
make sure that you get that the next time. And then just so some of you might want to be thinking about it in February at the luncheon on, I believe it's the 17th, third Thursday again, we're having Jonna Mazzette, who is in the National Academy of Sciences, and she's coming to speak on pandemics around the world and the whole issues of, what we're sort of faced with in terms of the diseases that are present and the likelihood of them being passed around. Sounds like a grim subject, but it's a really important talk, and so we invite you to come to that
also. Monterey Peninsula Democrats, anything to report?
Yeah, we're having a soapbox event. The next one is going to be February 21st. We had one last February. And it was very successful. We didn't have a lot of outsiders come in, but it was extremely educational. It was a lot of fun. And I hope that more of you come on the 21st. We'll be talking, last time it was about women and the Democratic women, and this time it's going to be about the Democratic Party, where they're going, what they're doing, these kinds of things. We're also having an election on the 21st from new board members. We're still trying to recruit the members. So anybody interested in joining us, talk to me about it.
Thank you. Salinas Valley Democrats, was anyone representing them here today?
They had a meeting last December 5th, from 5 to 7, their Christmas event. And I don't know when they're meeting again.
Patty, if you could get that to us, it'd be really helpful. We have a waiting list of people who would like to come, and they're unable to, we're not able to give them the information they're seeking. So we would love to have the information of when the group meets, who's the contact, and how people can attend, because they would like to.
Well, the ones that you could contact is Lupe Sanchez or Luisa Lejo.
Yeah, Dominic.
Yeah, I just want to reiterate Karen's point, because I think I asked all of 2018 and nobody ever gave me a date. Okay, phone number, name, email, address. I know the people, nobody wants to get back to me, so I got to do it.
Me too.
Okay. So noted. Marina Dems, who would like to report?
Yes, the Marina Dems is co-sponsoring an event on January 30th. That's a Wednesday night at the Marina Public Library. And it is with the non-judgmental and non-impartial title of Can Cal-Am Steal Marina's Groundwater?
What are you going to talk about?
The speakers will be Mark Del Piero, who's an attorney of law, expert on groundwater rights, Keith Vander Martin, who's the general manager of the Marina Coastal Water District, and another water rights person that's been in the news recently. There's been a number of editorials in the Herald that have been giving out a lot of false information. You owe it to yourself to attend these meetings, both Public Water Now and Just Water, conduct forums on a regular basis to get out the correct non-biased, believe me, information on what's going on and why the Cal-Am desal project is a true, we call it a calamity, because of what it will do to your water rates and what it has the potential to do to the only groundwater source that Marina has. So if you're interested at all, it's Wednesday, January 30th from 6 to 7:30 p.m. All our events are free, but if you want to make a donation when you get there, Marina Public Library.
Thank you. I don't know, Bob, do you want to update on the first events? Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, our chair, Barry Carnes, is out of the country, and there are two things. Yesterday, Progressive Dems tabled at the Martin Luther King Jr. celebration, and it was about the new Green Deal. We were informing the public about it, having conversations, taking names. We got about a dozen names of people who want to be in touch about that. And we would like to request to be on the agenda for a presentation in either March or April on the new Green Deal. Please.
Okay, thank you. And then we also approved the resolution regarding the state party chair election process, which is Young Dems. Anybody here representing Young Dems? And so Seaside Dems, anything to update there?
No, Dave, we're just trying to get our legs back underneath us after the election. You know, all of us split and went our separate ways. So now it's time to regroup. Always open to new folks. So everybody's invited to join. And we'll just pick it up from there.
Where in the limb will the next meeting be?
Well, third Thursday will be here.
Yeah, they're calendared on the regular calendar. And I believe in November, you were not able to come to this meeting, right?
Right.
You're real busy. This is the first meeting since you have become the mayor of Seaside. Congratulations.
Thank you guys for all your help.
And thank you for making time to come as the chair of the club to come and, you know.
What you guys do is important, and I think someone mentioned it. And I was just going to say, when you're talking about the march, it's important that the Democrats do all the things you guys do here in Salinas and throughout the valley. So I'm just happy to be part of it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so going on to committee reports. We approved the finance report, but I just wanted to give Caspian a chance. Anything else you want to say about finance or our financial condition?
Our financial condition right now is actually pretty reasonable. Because it is not an election year, we're going to be able to move more funds from our non-federal account to offset our occupancy expenses here. So for the upcoming year, we should be fine financially, but it would be great to build up as much money as we can this year when there's nothing pressing, so that we have that ready for next year when there's going to be a need to spend a lot of money on campaign activities.
So we do enter the year with about $27,000.
Yes.
Which is good, but of course, and we'll get to development later, we still have to continue to raise money so that we have a big war chest going into the election season in 2020. We don't want to just spend that down, we want to grow it this year.
And while I understand people are not really focusing on elections and donations, having had the midterms 2 months ago and with no major elections coming up around here for a year and a half, it would be great if anybody can donate themselves or push other people to donate just so that we can get that money in the bank and just build it up for next year.
I think Adam and then
just a quick comment on that. The next election is actually going to be closer than anybody thinks. California moved up to a March primary, which means the filing deadline is going to be December 15th. So the next time that we're going to have to make endorsements is actually in this calendar year. And so if that lights a fire under anyone's ass to go raise some money.
Got a lot to do, man.
But yeah, the 2020 election is really almost a 2019 election. Candidates are gonna start announcing this spring. Or county supervisor, state assembly, state senate. You might have heard that John Laird just announced his intention to run for Vermont, see when he's turned down. So that election's like here, pretty much.
Right. Somebody behind me, you, then you.
So with the announcement of the campaign season and the announcement also of the financial health or reasonableness of the club, I would like to propose a future agenda item that we discuss some set-aside amount of money for certain candidates in the campaign. In the past, we've actually had to ask candidates to contribute, to have their names listed. But I would like to see some amount of money set aside for those campaigns that are not financially able to handle some expenses.
You can agendize that.
How much was spent on the 2016 election?
Oh, can you answer that ballpark, Caspian?
I can in just a moment.
Oh.
You're not asking that.
2016,
Off the top of my head, I don't. But I actually think we raised more money in 2018 than we did in 2016.
In 2016, our campaign expenses were around $36,000. And that's just campaign, it doesn't include our event or any other events we hosted. That's just, basically it's just mailers.
And this year it was closer to 50-something, right?
Because we
did two mailers.
Primary mailer.
Primary, yeah.
And there was more elections too.
Yeah. Okay, any other questions on finance?
Is the committee thing, sign up still going around? Who's got that? Please raise it in the air. Clipboard?
Sign up sheet?
Clipboard.
Is that still moving, or did it get everybody? Good to keep counting.
Yeah, there you go.
Bless you. Okay, moving on then, credentials, Erin.
Yes, so one thing I just want to say very quickly, not as credentials, but as separate from this, that I'm convening the ADEM 30. I made a joke, but I did point out something, so in fairness, I would like to also say, I pointed out someone who is running for executive board. There's also someone in the room who's running for executive board, and that's Wes White. So I just want to name that in fairness, since I made a joke and mentioned that about the other candidate. Okay, credentials. So at the last meeting, a member made some allegations. The process is ongoing about the alleged anti-LGBTQA+ comments, some named as hate speech, yet to be determined. That was at the November meeting. It was researched. The options were laid out before the executive board. There are going to be personal conversations with people involved, and there'll be a report next month. There's no action right now, but we are continuing to look into that without making any judgment as to the validity of the allegations.
So basically, E-Ward is not prepared to bring any kind of action.
But we have taken
We have
steps.
heard it, we are working on it.
I'm going to talk individually with everyone involved. Does anyone have any questions?
Somebody over there.
So I just want to clarify, the complaint was against a sitting member of the central committee?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, and then the other thing about credentials, so a while ago, when the primary was changing, as Adam made mention, primaries in March, all the whole calendar is shifting. When are things due? When do we re-up as a club? When do we have to give them our roster? We weren't getting any of that information from the state party, so we told all of you several months ago that we were going to recharter. Everyone who chartered last year as a club, you're in again. And we'll use those same figures. Now, if you've had a growth in your membership, and that's going to have impact on how you are recognized, received, and represented with the Democratic Party, we said, you're welcome to turn in something if you'd like. Nobody did. So now we have those deadlines. The deadline for us to get all of our roster and club information is the 31st of January, okay? So if you have increased your roster and membership since last time and you want to get it to me, everything has to be sent in one email. One email with the subject line describing what it is. And if you don't hear from me, do not assume I received it. Please call me, let's be in touch. But we're just gonna use what you gave us last time. If we haven't heard from you, I'd say by the 29th, if I haven't heard from you by the 29th, I'm gonna prepare that, send it all in for the 31st.
So
And, yeah.
we will be submitting for all the clubs, but basically if you want to update it, you do need to do that and get that information in one email to Erin ASAP.
So all, Erin, all we're updating then, if we're updating, is the roster, not getting an update on anything else. And the roster is just going to be a list of people out with every single one of those people to sign.
No, you are all rechartered. Everyone that was chartered, everyone on this list here is in still.
So you just need an updated roster.
If I don't need it.
If you want to update your roster because you've grown membership, then you can submit that.
Or if there's people on your old roster that you don't want us to have on file that they're.
Karen, I think what she's asking is that all you need
That's
is
it.
the updated
Yes.
roster.
Yes, yes.
And it has to be in that particular format.
Has to be in that format that
Because
you had
otherwise,
last year.
that's what the state party says. Yeah, well.
Sorry if I missed the meeting, but can someone explain to me the process that was used to decide that we would recharter based on what was submitted a year ago?
What was the process? The process was every meeting we bring it up, and we tell people, that remember to charter if you want to be a club, if you're not a club, if you're aware of clubs, because there are people in this room that are members of clubs that for years have not chartered with this organization. So we want to make sure they're aware of that.
It wasn't a year ago. It was last May.
I was going to say, because the norm used to be at the beginning of the year, and you moved it later into the year.
So we moved it to coincide with the deadlines that the state party had, and then the state party said, we're changing the deadline again. And everyone had already moved it. And so we said, we don't want to add extra work for you, because some people have planned year after year certain meetings so they can get all those signatures.
So, the short answer is, we were trying to align with the state, and now we just found out they need this at the end of the month.
So was there a vote of the central committee? Did the e-board of the central committee
Well, let's look
decide?
at the minutes.
We did, as a central committee, we did approve the clubs, I want to say it was May or June.
May or June?
And so we did approve all the clubs at that time.
But I don't remember what month. But yeah, we talked about it and we agreed on it. Yeah.
No, well, the important point is, we voted on it.
We did,
Yes.
we did.
Oh, yes.
Okay,
Yes.
that's cool, that's what I wanted to know. The other thing is, does the central committee have the rosters that were submitted last year?
Yes, we do. Yeah.
All right, because
Yep.
I'd like to review I'd like to review the Salinas Valley roster.
Well, I don't know how that works. They just goes back and forth between the president or secretary of the clubs.
But he would like to look at it, and I think it is, the question is the club roster a public record?
Don't know, no one's ever asked that.
So we will check with the state party and find out if that is something that we can share to folks. My sense is it should be a public record, like this is but we'll check. Dominic? Dominic, I'm sorry, I didn't see you on that, I saw Dominic saying.
But my question would just be, if the question, or the answer to Juan's question is no, could we at least get a membership number that will be submitted January? As the official number that's used down the line.
Yeah, we will.
Okay, cool. All right, so is there more on that? Because I have one more thing.
Well, no, the only thing I was going to say is, like our club keeps a copy and we give you a copy. So if you should be able to ask the club to give you a copy, they should have it.
difficulty in communicating with the club is at the heart of his request.
So in our process of signing up club members, certain assurances were made that private email would not be disclosed. So maybe there's an option to redact certain information before circulating.
And we'll check with the state party. Okay, anything else on that? And Karen, what else do you have?
Oh, and then the final thing is, and I just made a note to talk about it at e-board, to add to our oath, because it's not long enough. And it has to do with what I'm gonna say now. So in this, one of the things is that the state is requiring that we attest that every name on there, on the qualifying, the 20 signature qualifying roster, not all your membership, right? You can have, we've got Green Party members and independents in some of our clubs, that's fine. But the 20 qualifying core members that signed your chartering document, and everyone on this body has to be a currently registered Democrat. So we are not going through and checking everybody. We're not checking 20 times however many clubs we have, and we're not gonna check every week to see if you all changed your registration or anything. So I'm gonna request to the e-board that we add that to the oath, that we're also promising to remain, swearing to remain a registered Democrat throughout, as long as we're eligible and a member here, and that you'll let us know if you're not, because we're gonna attest to that. So if there is anyone, you don't have to say so now, but if there's anyone now that didn't understand that was part of being a member of this committee and a requirement of the Democratic Club chartering, we can talk later. But just want to say that. We're not going to check.
So you're just saying that you want to modify our oath so people know that when they swear they're a Democrat, they're also swearing to remain a Democrat.
As long as
they're involved with it.
Right, right. And that the.
I would hope that's understood, but okay.
Well, stranger things have been misunderstood.
That's true. Okay, so moving on to issues. And has the issues committee been active, anything before? Okay. Development, David Kahn.
Not too much to report at this point, but I am thinking about having our next annual dinner in October. And so I will be contacting hotels or whatever to see if we can, what's the best rate for that. Also, I'm thinking of having an event maybe in May. This is October, the dinner. Have an event, maybe honor one of our elected officials in May. Maybe someone in the Salinas Valley perhaps. So, and I'm always welcome to accept new committee members, so please see me after the meeting if you're interested in getting involved.
And where's the sign-up sheet that board of committees go around?
It's on the copy. Yeah, I looked at the sheet and I didn't see anybody sign up for the development committee, so you can always cross it out and change it later.
So again, just to clarify, so yeah, David and I and the e-board have been in conversation. We really think we need to do more outreach and connect more with Salinas and the Salinas Valley. And that's why one of the events we have this year, we would like to have in Salinas or the Salinas Valley, and we would like to honor an elected official from that area, that part of the county at that time as well. So that's part of our thinking. We do not have any finalized plans yet for that. Still working on it. If you would like to help with that, David's the man.
Yes.
There'll be wine involved.
Chris?
Okay, question I have, do we have a development plan for sources of revenue? Have we thought out, the things that we can do besides an event here or there?
I don't think we do, no.
It seems like it would be a good idea to.
Well, volunteer with David.
Please see me afterwards. Also want to thank Ian again for his help at the dinner, because he really came through. There wasn't that many people that helped me out the last dinner, so thank you.
I'm here again.
Yes, thank you.
And moving on, communications, Tyler.
Cool, so
Couple things. So this is your communications committee as of right now. And Gavin is not on the central committee yet, but hopefully very soon. Emma has been kicking butt on our Instagram. We started with 0 followers launching the Instagram, and now we have 600, and that's basically all her, so that's really cool. A couple other things. So the main project right now is trying to revamp the website. I think we're gonna try to work with the one that we have and just kind of make some minor changes. Maybe some major changes, we'll see. But one of the things I wanted to suggest is that if you guys, as officers on the executive board, we should probably have like profiles for you guys. We had links to it was supposed to be a link to create like an email automatic pop-up for you guys on the website, but it doesn't, the link didn't really work, so I took off all of the links. So if you guys have like a bio that you can send me, and maybe even a picture, I think that would be good to have the officers on the website so people know who our executive board is. Everything should be updated on the website as far as the current members of the Central Committee. I still need to go through and spot check that. And then the other thing is the clubs. So like if anybody's here as a representative of a club, take a look at your profile under the club section on the Monterey County Democrats website. If you want to update something on there, let's have a chat about that. If you take a look at it and some of it's like outdated or anything like that, I imagine a lot of it probably is. So take a look at that and we can chat about how you would like to update the club section for you guys on the Monterey County Democrats website. And we do not even have an active profile for Young Democrats or Seaside Democrats. So send me some language as to what you would be interested in having on those club sections on the website and we can update those as necessary. Same goes for events. So if you guys would like to get your event onto the Monterey Dems calendar on the website, we can certainly insert events very easily onto that, and then we can also promote on social media as well. We have about 1,100 followers on the Facebook page, so some folks I was talking to Amanda Whitmire from the DCMP, and we kind of came up with how to best promote on social media through the Soapbox socials. So we can create like our own events and blast it out to the 1,100 people on our subscriber list, or we can help in whatever way you guys need. So if you need my email or anything after the meeting, just come find me, and I'm happy to keep that out. So it's Tyler James, TYLERJAMS.
One L.
Yeah, with one L. So Tyler James.
You have become the norm.
It's right, the correct way of spelling it.
It's really not though. Tyler James with one L, 524@gmail.com. So definitely send me feedback about what you would like to go on the club profile on the website. And for events, the best thing to have are like flyers, because we can just email blast that out and put that onto your club section on the website. And then like I said, also we have a calendar that we can throw events onto. Right now the only thing on our calendar is the monthly Central Committee meeting. So we can start really getting into that and updating us. So we have your event this Thursday.
Well, I was wondering also for the time that we want to be at the center, is it you that we contact, or?
I think
It's been Elena and me.
Base,
Okay,
right?
so we want to confirm.
That's for the use of the
For the
facility.
use
It
of the
doesn't have anything to
facility.
do with the
Nothing to do with
calendar on the
that, okay.
website.
Yeah, so if you would like to, as of right now, I am like blank slate, right? So if you want to put out your monthly meetings or special events or anything like that, please send those to me in fresh emails and I can get them up on the website.
And I just want to reiterate for club leaders,
Yes, I have so far.
that it's really important because people contact me and I'm trying to explain how they can get involved in the Democratic Party, and I'll bring up the clubs. And it's really, if I can say, go to the Democratic Party website, you'll see a list of all the clubs and when they meet. And if that information is accurate, it's just so much easier than me trying to remember, oh, this group's third Thursday, whatever. So make sure in particular, you have a brief description of kind of what defines you as a club, and then where and when you meet. and try to be regular, because that way people who see about it on the website, if they, you know, they can show up and get involved.
And the contact person too would be great, like whether it's the president or whoever you want in your club interacting with the public. If you're able to share an email address, we can put that up there. So at least there's a single point of contact. Other than that, we would love to have more members of the committee. We are going to meet on the second Sunday of every month, hopefully here in the C4C. I haven't actually asked you about that, so I'm assuming that's going to be available. But right now we're planning to meet the second Sunday. We'll have our like first meeting of our new communications committee in February. So if you are interested, I'll scope up the sign-in sheet. If anybody's signed up, I'll reach out to you. But that we do need committee members and people who can commit to at least coming once a month and sitting down and hashing out tasks and goals and that kind of stuff. And then hopefully we'll get a monthly newsletter up here soon. My goal is to start February and I was able to convert everything from Constant Contact to MailChimp officially, so we have like a mailing list of like 20,000 emails, like all consolidated onto MailChimp now. So that should work well, and MailChimp just looks a lot better than Constant Contact.
Tyler, we will no longer be paying Constant Contact then.
I gotta talk to the homeowner about that, but I want to keep it open just in the short term because I think there might still be some overlap, and I need to go through the list with Vince actually. Other than that, I think that's about it. So executive officers, if you have profiles, send those to me. We're going to try to get those up on the website. And then the clubs, take a look at your pages, send me updates. And yeah, that's it for now.
Okay, thank you. Info, I don't think we need that. We could actually.
Yeah, the info, we gotta take that off in the bylaws. We're required to have an info some or other committee, but we've never had one.
Campaign, do you have anything, Elena, that you want to share?
My goal is to reconvene any of the past members and do a kind of rehash, look at what we did and what we could do better. But I haven't done that, and but I will try and get something together as soon as possible.
Shan, do you have anything you want to add to the comment you made earlier about updating us?
You mean about the...
Yeah, do you have anything you want to share as far as being our e-board rep? We haven't had a meeting, but...
Yeah.
Anything? And Tyler or Dominic. Tyler, of course, is our outgoing e-board member from Assembly District 29. Dominic is member from 8030. Anything you guys want to add?
Yeah, I'll say a few things. So we had, for those that aren't aware, we had the 29th Assembly District elections last Sunday, not this past Sunday, but Sunday before that. We had the progressive labor slate that we successfully won all 14 slots. So I think that was a success. I am stepping down as e-board rep. I didn't run just because of city council stuff taking precedence, but I did want to stay on as a delegate and attend the convention. So I'm excited to stay in the loop there. So just wanted to give you guys that update. A couple other things that I wanted to just throw out there since I have the floor. There was a article that came out last night in regards to the election of what's his name? From Carmel, Dave Potter to the Mayor's Authority, or to the Water Board on behalf of the Mayor's Authority. And there was just some concern in regards to the process of it all. And regardless of, I just want to say, regardless of how you feel it was handled, whether it was right or wrong, I think that it's incumbent upon all of us to make sure that, especially if we're in positions of elected power, that we're doing everything that we can to make sure that things seem transparent. So I would just say publicly to our group that it may be worth writing a letter to the Mayor's Authority, encouraging them to bring it to a vote, just to make sure that it's clear, because we need to make sure that the public can trust our elected officers. So anyways, I just wanted to say that bit. The last thing I'll say is, during the election, I put together a housing coalition, so I reached out to candidates across the peninsula to see who would want to work together on developing a regional strategy around housing. All of us got elected except for one individual, and so we all decided to continue working with each other. Now, post-election, we met 2 weekends ago to talk about how we're going to work together as newly electeds to develop a regional strategy around housing. So that's moving in a very positive direction. There's a lot of great energy around that. Ian Oglesby is part of that. Adam is a part of it. I'm not sure if anybody else is that's part of it. But we have, I think, a representation from each city on the peninsula. And so good energy's there. We're going to move forward with developing a strategy and hopefully take that to our elected bodies so that we can have that conversation with our colleagues in each of our cities, assuming that there's going to be some action required. So just wanted to share that with you all. There's going to be a need for folks to turn out and show up to city council meetings and really advocate for affordable housing. So it's great if we use social media as a space to be able to share that. It's great if you use social media as a space to do that, but it's also important for people to show up to these meetings, because if we just hear one voice, it makes it easier for us to support these types of initiatives. So I know that my time is up, but if I could have 1 extra minute, because George came in late. And
I'm real sorry, but we got, that was public comments, and public comments is over, so we could agendize something on housing, we could agendize something on water, but this is just not the right time for it. So, Dominic, anything on state party news?
Yeah, so some people tried to call it a special meeting of the E-Board in order to perhaps elect an interim chair. Nobody really knows what happened with it because signatures were never submitted, and CDP even had to release an email saying they're not sure what's going on either. Some caucus chairs signed on to it, so I doubt it's going to happen because they said it was going to be at a hotel in Orange County that was on the dispute list. So it's a mess. Outside of that, we're probably one of the few areas in the state where there's no outright brawls going on amongst delegates. Literally, I was contacted by the progressive slates saying make sure the electeds don't interfere in your election. I'm like, no problem, we got it covered. Like, do any of your slate work for an assembly member? I'm like, just me. You know, we're relatively relaxed compared to other areas. So besides that, nothing really.
Okay, thank you. Future agenda items, so I just want to circle back. I heard David ask about agendizing a water update and also agendize for discussing kind of campaign and whether we want to contribute to candidates in the future.
And this, this past year, we received requests from committee members to address housing as an issue. So if we could get an update from Tyler and his group, that would be great.
We could do that. We could agendize housing.
David? You slightly mischaracterized my suggestion.
About water or?
About the campaign financing. What I was hoping for is an agenda item where we could discuss setting aside funds to contribute to those campaigns that can't afford it, but need money during the campaign. It's always when the time comes.
Understand.
And also that can take place with the campaign committee. If you want to work in a small group intensely and come to us with a recommendation, that's another option. And on top of it, we'll do what you say.
Dominic and Adam, is there any future agenda items?
Yeah, I can't remember if I need to add it here, but the possible writing of a resolution thanking Governor Newsom for being surprisingly awesome on proposed programs.
I guess maybe that would be something, the issues committee wants to take that up, then we'll certainly entertain it. I think that's an issues committee thing. Adam?
As candidates for the 17th Senate District come out, we should invite them to come and speak. And John Laird has announced we should invite him to come speak.
functionary. Okay, any other future agenda items? Seeing none, we're gonna adjourn this meeting at 7:54. Thank you.